Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Ben, head coach.
And I'm Anya, international marathon runner. And we're proud to be the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide.
We'll be having truly insightful conversation with truly inspirational guests, as well as bringing you tips and tricks for runners of all abilities.
Today on the podcast, we spoke to Ben Felton, who started out as just your everyday runner who wanted to try out a bit of parkrun and was running at around 22 minutes. Since then, he's gone on to train like a pro and has set some incredible times. He's bridging that gap between sub-elite, elite, all whilst filming his content for his audience on YouTube. He talks about his recent PB at Barcelona half in 66 minutes and now his next goals at London Marathon. You'll love this episode. We talk about trainers, training, and everything it takes to get to the top. Enjoy it. Hi, Ben. Thank you for coming on. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Pre your session in Battersea Park in a minute.
Exactly. Yep. Get the priorities right. Any excuse to come up to London means I've got to go to Battersea Park and get a session in while I'm here.
I guess we'll start right at the beginning of your running journey. What got you into it in the first place?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, there was kind of a few starting points in my running journey. I used to run a little bit when I was at school. So when I was like 13, 14, I did a few track races. But to be honest with you, the pressure of like performing for, I think it was my county at the time, got a little bit too much. And I kind of like took a big step away from running. So I did a little bit of running as a kid. And then it wasn't until I went to sort of university and we moved to Stockholm straight after uni, which is when I really started to get into running and the training aspect of things, and meeting new people was one of the main motivators. We'd moved to a new city after uni and I knew nobody there. And I think on the second night I joined a running club and immediately had like 20 new friends, which was a really good way of like meeting new people.
Was that just like socially, or at that point where you're like, I'm going to start doing some intervals, I'm going to start, structuring my training? Did you consider that?
I think at first it was a bit of both, but mainly the social side of things. I'd done a few parkruns and stuff while I was at uni, but it was mainly to like build fitness for playing football, which is, I used to be in like a Sunday five-a-side team, not a high level or anything, but it was a case of I didn't really have much like general fitness, so when I played football I would often like get out of breath and not be able to play the whole game how I wanted to. So I started running to try and build some fitness for football. And then when we moved to Sweden in 2019, I joined a running club just to meet new people but also continue to build a bit of fitness.
And I guess we'll come on to how far you've taken the running, but I guess just to like set the scene, when you're getting into your running and thinking about moving over to Sweden and taking it a bit more seriously, where were you at with maybe like a park run time, or where was your kind of like starting point?
Yeah, so I think my first park run that I did in like, I almost call it like the second generation of running, because I used to run as a kid, but then kind of didn't run for like 6-7 years. And then in 2019, I think I did my first park run in around 22 minutes. So like I was naturally still okay at running from, I guess coming from a bit more of a football background, and then got kind of, as soon as I started training and saw the time come down, I got pretty obsessed with like the self-development of running, and I think within a couple of years I was running like 17 minutes for 5k. So, and then it's been a gradual progression since then.
I think it's so inspiring also to know that where you're starting at is a more normal point, and I think it really demonstrates like anyone can take their running to where you've got to, and it is the case of doing the way that you've devoted your training. I guess like with the football, like where did you play? Were you a midfielder running around doing the most running on the pitch, or what was your position on the football pitch?
I was a defender.
Okay.
So I was absolutely terrible with the ball at my feet, but when the opposition had the ball, I was the guy just running around trying to get back possession. But when it came to the actual football, I was not very good at all.
Do you think it helped build like strength doing that sport? Because I think back to like me playing hockey, and I think that's built like so much strength in like tendons and my knees and things. And then so many successful runners have always had like Kate Axford with hockey, or like football, like rugby. Do you think that's helped?
A little bit. I think when I was playing football, I was also into the gym in quite a big way as well. So I was like a typical teenage boy, like trying to build as much muscle as possible. So it was more of a case of football highlighted for me that I'd been training in the gym, but in terms of like actual performance, it wasn't really translating. So I was like, I really need to build on the cardiovascular side of things if I want to be a better footballer. And then I found out that I was much better at the running aspect of the football match than I actually was playing the game. So it kind of, over the years, I transitioned from being like, playing a little bit of football and doing a bit of running. And then it got to a point where I was like, if I want to really take my running seriously, playing a Sunday league game at the weekend where you get beaten up and your legs are absolutely battered by the time you go for a run on the Monday, then I decided to really focus things in on the running.
Yeah.
And so you're in Sweden, you're the 22-minute 5K runner. What was your first goal, or what did you do to start to see this trajectory towards, as you said, 17-minute 5K quite quickly?
Yeah, I think I just got into running in a really big way. Like when I moved to Sweden, I was probably running maybe twice a week. And it was just a case of like, I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the social side of things. So I think I started training maybe twice with the run club that I joined. They did like interval sessions, and then I was running on my own as well. So I'd gone from running like two maybe 3 times a week to 4 or 5 times a week, and eventually like running every day. And I think when you get into something as quickly as I did, the trajectory was quite quick, but it was because I was able to sort of like build my training volume up. And the times kind of just looked after themselves and were more of an outcome of the training that I was doing, rather than like I was running to be a faster runner. It just came a little bit more natural.
It's almost like a positive feedback loop, that because you really devoted yourself to something,
Yeah.
you saw improvement so fast that made it so fun and exciting. That means you invest more time and energy into it, and before you know it, you're hitting times that are amazing, but because you've done it in a way that you're enjoying. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I love running so much, is because you get what you get. You get what you put in. So if you put loads of training in, and then you come to a race and you get a good result, it's like you're saying, you're constantly getting positive affirmations from the training that you put in. So I think, you do get in a cycle of constantly being like, if I train a little bit harder now, I can get even better. And then, it's a constant like, do that again and again and again, and eventually your times come down pretty dramatically.
And I guess all the while you've showcased your journey, and I think that's also probably been what's inspired so many people and really resonated with your story, is the case that they've seen you go from being a more normal place to now a place that we'll come on to, which is just extremely impressive. Like, when did you decide to start sharing that journey?
Yeah, I think it was in lockdown in the UK. I was working as a chef at the time, and I was furloughed from the job. The restaurant I was working at was closed, and it was a case of like, I really didn't know what to do with my time. Meg will vouch for me, I was playing far too much Xbox. I was still doing quite a lot of running, and it was probably the first time where I was able to really pick up my training because I had so much free time. And I think I went from running like maybe 50, 60 kilometers a week, and then in lockdown I was suddenly running 100 kilometers, 110, 120, and I was like, this is really exciting. I'm almost living like a pro runner, in terms of I didn't have any other responsibilities. And that's when I kind of picked up the camera and started to document things a little bit more of just as a hobby and something to pass the time. I'd made videos before, but they were never really about running. I just made like vlogs when we went on holiday and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of like knowledge of how to use cameras and like document stuff, but the running sort of came about because of the COVID pandemic, really.
Did you ever think at that point you'd be where you are now, one of the biggest like running YouTubers in the country?
Yeah, no, not at all. I had absolutely no idea. I think the second video I posted was like how I improved my 5K, some like top tips. And I remember filming it in Meg's parents' their spare room at the time. We were like living with them because we just moved back from Sweden because of the pandemic. So we were in this tiny little room, filmed a YouTube video about how I improved my 5K. And then suddenly the video started getting a lot of like traction. And that's when I think the first sort of like running subscribers came to my channel. I had probably like 200 or 300 subscribers at the time. And then sort of over the course of a month, it was then 1,000, 2,000, all because of this one 5K top tips video that I'd filmed. So it was kind of a gradual sort of transition into running content as a career, I guess. But yeah, when I started, I had absolutely no idea that it was going to become a full-time job, or never really wanted to be a YouTuber or anything. Like I know a lot of kids out there now like want to be YouTubers when they grow up, but I never really thought about that as a career when I started it. So it was more of like an organic thing.
So how long from that first 5K video until you're able to kind of view this as your full-time career?
Yeah. Everything becomes a little bit of a blur, to be honest with you, with the content side of things. I always struggle with, like, was it last year that I ran this marathon and filmed it, or was it the year before that? But I think I started making the YouTube videos, more running side of things, in 2020. And then it was probably in 2023 that it became a bit more of a focus. I remember quitting my job at the time. That was quite a big decision. I was making a little bit of money from YouTube, but I thought if I really go all in on this, then maybe it can be a career. And then I'd say probably for the last 2 years, it's been more of a full-time job, if you like. But I still find it hard to say, oh, this is my job. It still feels a bit surreal, but it definitely has become a bit more of a job over the last few years.
But the amazing thing about you is that you're filming everything you're doing, but you're running these like elite times. Like, we'll get on to Barcelona half, which is your recent PB, but you were running like 3:06 a kilometre and still filming yourself. Like, that's crazy. And yeah, so many elites obviously don't show their training. And I think that's why people are so invested in your journey, because you really do show everything, like no holds barred, all your training, everything. Do you think that is a big part of it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, because I've always sort of filmed my running since I started, since I was like a 20-minute 5K runner, up until now, it's like it's always a natural thing for me to do. Like, when I've got a race, I document it and I share it on YouTube, whether it goes well or not. It still goes up on YouTube. I share my thoughts, and I think people can always relate to a race that goes really well, you've trained really hard for it, or a race you've trained hard for and it doesn't go so well. So I try to be as open and honest with my content that I put out, and I guess because I've done it for ever since I started running, it doesn't feel unnatural for me still to be sort of documenting my races now. But to be honest with you, I film a lot less than I used to in terms of in the races. So like in Barcelona half that I just did, I filmed a few clips, and then I rely on my partner Meg, and we had a few friends out on the course to film a few shots and stuff like that to help tell the story. So it's getting the balance right, because obviously if you're filming the whole way around, then that will slow you down. But the camera I use is very, very small, and I often forget that I'm even holding it, so it's not too much of a hindrance.
Yeah, I think it's a very different perspective that you show, which is prioritizing training and racing as a professional, as an elite athlete, and then making amazing content on the back of that, rather than almost putting the content first and then your training gets in the way. And giving an example today, you're coming to London, you're going to go and smash your training in Battersea Park, and that's like the thing that is the through line in your journey.
Yeah, and I think it's always been that case with my running and the content side of things. I'd put the running first, especially when it comes to like races and workouts and stuff. If I can't film something, then unfortunately it's not going to be online. But I've always sort of been a runner first and then a content creator second, which I think has been important for me in making sure that I continue to progress and continue to enjoy the sport that that's now become a job. Like, I absolutely love the training aspect and the progression that you see with your own training. So I don't think that would ever change too much.
So you moved to Sweden at the point when running's this thing that you're starting to think about. What year was that? Did you say 2017?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
So in 6 years, you've gone from a 22-minute 5K to then Barcelona on the weekend, a week and a half ago, running 66 minutes.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And so what pace per kilometre would that be?
I think it was 3:09 per kilometre. Yeah, which is I still can't believe, to be honest with you, that that's now my half marathon pace. Even like a few years ago, that would have been my 10K pace. A few years before that, a 5K pace. So it's crazy how things progress on. And even in my training block that I did before the Barcelona half, I hardly really hit 3:09 per kilometre in many of my sessions. So yeah, to see that now as my half marathon pace is there's still like a pinch me moment, I guess, when you cross the line, you press stop on your watch, and like 66, but yeah, that's pretty good going now.
It's an incredible time, and doing one that I'm sure Anya and I could only dream of. But does it make you think, like, you've improved so much in such a relatively short amount of time, that like the sky's the limit? Like, what is the long-term goal with the training?
I guess over the last few years, like, progression in my running has been a little bit slower. I had a few injuries. I think 2023 was quite a tough year in terms of I picked up my first like big stress fracture injury, which like set me back probably a year in training to get back to that point. So I'm only just getting back to like PB shape after a few years of like uncertainty. So as long as I could just continue the progression and slowly chip bits of time off here and there. And I think that's the main goal for me. A lot of people ask me, like, have you got dreams of becoming a professional runner or things like that? And it's never really been like a proper focus of mine to be like an elite runner. It's just I enjoy the natural progression. And I think also with what I do now in terms of the content creator space, I'm quite happy in my lane in terms of, like, I know my audience, I know I've made a career out of it, and like, as long as I can continue this like crazy world of social media, content creation, slowly improving my running times, like I'm happy with that at the moment. So
well, I always think the definition of a professional used to be someone who got paid to do the thing. I mean, there's an amateur football player or an amateur runner is someone who runs for fun, and then someone who's a professional is someone who gets paid.
Yeah.
And like, by that definition, you're a full-time professional runner.
Yeah.
And therefore I can see where it like starts to blur, and in a way, like, you focusing on getting a little bit better, like you said, chipping off time here and there and making great content makes you happy, if facilitates you running and doing what you do and having a livelihood. If it then means you can beat some of the conventional professionals one day, that's almost a cool byproduct, as you say, and it's probably the best mental way to get there without putting pressure on that as a goal, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of professional runners in the more traditional sense obviously have times they have to hit to get certain bonuses in their contract, and for me, I never really have any of that pressure. Obviously I want to do well, but it's more for myself. And like, I know with my YouTube videos as well that going into a race, I'm currently training for London Marathon. Like, obviously I want to PB, I want to do well, but if it doesn't go so well, I've still got my YouTube channel to fall back on. I still get to document the whole process. People are still going to support me and ultimately help pay my bills. It's not completely reliant on that sort of on that time that I cross the line
But I
with.
think having that like flip and being in that slightly unconventional position, and probably very similar to yours, Anya, is like it allows you to not put as much pressure on the performance, not doing your time in London Marathon dictates whether your sponsor renews for the year after, and then doing your training is so stressful, maybe that gets in the way of your sleep. You can actually enjoy the journey and just probably find it all that little bit more sustainable, which will probably lead to better output in performance as well.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I'm very lucky with what I do now, and it's kind of like carved the path for like my future as well, in terms of I'm not reliant on big brands or contracts and stuff like that. I can kind of just find my own way through the sport, and if I get to an elite level in the marathon or the half marathon, then that's brilliant. But it's not necessarily I need to become a professional runner, otherwise I'm gonna not be able to pay the bills type thing. So it's a really nice position to be in.
And so with London coming up, do you have a goal in mind? And what's the PB for context?
So I've run 2:24. I've actually run 2:24 twice now. So I ran it in Boston a few years ago, then had a big injury, and then last year managed to get back in to 2:24 shape in Valencia. So looking ahead after the Valencia Marathon, I was like, I'd love to take another couple of minutes off my PB. So I think 2:22 was originally the goal, sort of going into this block. But having just run the Barcelona half, training's going really well. I wouldn't be surprised if I hopefully ran a little bit quicker than that, and I have half an eye on the sort of sub 220 barrier. But yeah, very British way of looking at things. I don't really like to be like, I'm definitely going to run this and be that sort of cocky, arrogant runner. It's not really in my nature. So I've got like personal goals, and I think eventually I can achieve certain things, but I'm just taking things gradually, and if I can PB in London, then that would be brilliant.
Wow. And I guess just to put context in for everyone listening, like, what times does it take in the marathon as a male to be in those elite starting pens?
I think for London Marathon you need to run like 2:15 to be in the sort of elite category. It depends on the race, to be honest with you, that you enter. So for example, if I did Copenhagen Marathon, I'd be considered an elite runner with 2:24. So it depends on the sort of the prestige, I guess, of the race. But I think for me, in my head, like a 2:15 marathon that's when you sort of become a sub-elite runner or a club runner, and you go into that elite category. So yeah, maybe one day I'll get there, but that's something that's going to be like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So.
And I guess presumably representing your country is actually not a million miles away, and something that you could do in due course.
Yeah, I guess so. I think for the half marathon now I'm only maybe 3 or 4 minutes off it, which still is quite a big chunk, especially when you get quicker. It gets harder and harder to take seconds off. But Yeah, I mean, I'd never say never. I think it could happen. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't. But yeah, we'll see. I guess it'll be exciting to document the process anyway over the next few years to see how close I can get. I mean, I feel like I'm getting closer and closer with every race. So you never know.
You did have a bit of a stint trying to train like an elite in Kenya just before Barcelona half.
Yeah.
How was that experience over there?
Yeah, incredible. So I spent 3 weeks in Iten, literally doing nothing but running. The camp I stayed at looks after everything from your washing, your 3 meals a day. So literally the only thing I had to do when I woke up in the morning is to train and then eat and then train again, go to bed. So I lived that life for 3 weeks, and definitely saw a real positive impact of the altitude when I came back to race in Barcelona. Training in Kenya is just so difficult. Even easy runs are hard work. So I just came back and I'm so much more aerobically strong, which I think is definitely one of the main reasons why Barcelona went so well, is because of the altitude, really.
Did you see the guy, I think I saw it on your Instagram, the carbon-plated flip-flops?
Yes.
What did the guy run who was wearing those?
I think he ran 2:18 in these flip-flops, yeah. And he was just having coffee in the local coffee shop one morning, and I was having a chat with him, and he even he still had them on his feet in the coffee shop. So I think he wears them as just his everyday walking around shoes, and now he's run a 2:18 in them
Were
as well.
they engineered as a joke or as a serious?
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure it out. They've got carbon fibre plate and they're super lightweight, but I'm not sure if it's more of a gimmicky thing or
Because is it an official, therefore, the world record if he's in?
Yeah, I guess so.
Presumably are technically flip-flops despite having a high-performance sole.
Yeah, exactly. If that was ever a world record before, I don't know. It's kind of like somebody running a marathon in Crocs. I guess if you
Tommy Jews is doing that.
Yeah, if you put a carbon fibre plate in some Crocs, you probably would get some East African runners being able to run low 220s.
Probably better aircon as well, if you got no uppers on there.
I've not tried them, but I mean, I'd be open to give them a go.
You are an expert on shoes and you have tried most shoes. Can you talk about your current trainer rotation?
Yeah, so you're very fortunate to try pretty much every shoe under the sun, to be honest with you. Big part of my sort of content creation is testing new shoes and new products. So it's always changing my running shoe rotation, but I try and test some shoes and then share my opinion on YouTube. But in terms of daily trainers at the moment, I think one of my favorites is the New Balance 1080. I was a bit late to the game with that shoe in terms of I never really tried it, but I heard loads of people have said it's great, and I'm really enjoying that for my sort of easy runs. And then for my interval sessions, I kind of don't really have a set shoe that I use. I kind of rotate a lot between whatever's the latest shoe to try it out. But I think Saucony Endorphin Speed is still one of the best for sort of my intervals. And then race day, I think my favourite shoe at the moment is probably the Pro 4, which I use for the Valencia Marathon. It just seems to work really well for me, a little bit softer than the previous version. So I'm constantly rotating between shoes, trying to find which works best for me, and help try and figure that out for other people as well.
Sorry.
You go.
No, I just think it's so cool that you now look at a start line and you look at everyone's feet, and there's so many different brands of footwear. It used to just be Nike, and now there is everything. Do you think there is more of a level playing field now at the top of?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's probably what I say to people the most frequently when they ask me which running shoe should I race in. I'll be like, well, I've got a top 5, but it depends on your foot strike, the size of runner, your cadence, all these different things. Whereas all the brands now seem to have caught up with each other. So there's not really a standout Nike Vaporfly that there used to be. I could race basically in any of the top running brands' latest carbon racing shoe and feel on a level playing field. So it does come down a bit more to personal preference now, I think, rather than one shoe being better than the other.
And with that in mind, how do you pick? You've got Barcelona coming up, or you had Barcelona coming up, and you're I need to wear my favourite shoes so I can run the best time I can do. How do you pick?
A lot of it comes down to my training and just test them out on different interval sessions, and then I get a feel for which shoe's working well for me. Often the brand that I'm doing the race with can dictate the shoe that I'm wearing. So for the Barcelona half that just went, I actually ran it with Brooks. So it was a case of here's the Brooks latest carbon shoe. This is the shoe that I'm going to be racing in. So I did a lot of my training when I was in Kenya in that shoe just to get used to it. But yeah, like I said, I'm never really too fussy anymore because everybody's kind of on a level playing field when it comes to, especially the carbon racing shoes.
And you've brought a shoe in with you today as one of your favourite items. Can you tell us the story of that?
I can. Let me grab it. So, get my pants out of the way first. That's for another story. So this is my first running shoe, if you like. It was a spike that I used when I was at school. I remember buying it on eBay secondhand. It's size 7, which is half a size too small. So every time I wore it, my toes were like getting completely crushed. But yeah, it's my first ever running spike.
It's crazy that they look like that now.
Yeah.
Well,
I think this is... So I wore this when I was about 13, 14 years old. And I think I ran a 450, 1500 meters in it. So I was pretty happy with that at the time, and did a lot of races on grass. The spikes are completely worn down. But yeah, that was my first ever running shoe.
You should see what you can do, what you can race in it now. Yeah,
I've tried putting it on just for nostalgia, and my feet are just like getting absolutely crushed in there. But yeah, maybe I should try and beat a 450, 1500 meters in it again, and then shelf it for life. But yeah,
maybe you need to buy the exact same one in a 7.5 or 8,
size,
and then you can.
I'm sure I could find one on eBay somewhere.
Then you can make the video and just sub them out at the right time and not have to lose all your toenails.
That's a good idea.
And then the pants you brought, are they your most underrated running item?
Yeah, so I've been on a quest recently to find the best
becoming
running
an X-rated running podcast. All
exactly, and these ones are the ones that I think are the best at the moment, and they're from Decathlon. Very, very cheap, which is one of the reasons why I think they're underrated. But yeah, I've tried probably 10 different running pants out over the last few months, and these ones are the best, and they're pretty cheap as well. So
do you wear? Because I feel like there's
a
debate as to when do you wear pants?
Yeah.
Do you wear pants all the time?
I do, yeah. I know some people go commando, especially like on race day, if they wear like...
What if you're wearing... would you wear pants if you had shorts with undershorts in, or do you then avoid those types of shorts?
Yeah, I kind of prefer the shorts without the lining in. And on race day, I'll go for a brief, whereas in training, I'll wear more of like a pant.
Oh,
yeah.
And what's the logic there?
I have no idea, really. It's just what I feel most comfortable in.
Because you in practice wearing your Brooks carbon shoes in training.
Yes.
So you wanted to train in what you're going to race in.
Yeah.
Why swap the pants around?
I think just save the best pants for race day. You know, you want to feel fast and secure in all the right areas.
Okay.
And do you wear your pants in leggings?
Yes.
Because I always thought you shouldn't wear pants in leggings so you don't have a pants line.
Yeah, that's why I like the brief a bit more, because you don't have your VPL, your visible pant line.
I see. Yeah.
Okay, last question from me here. I'll take you off the pants. You were just talking about saying you used to do 400s, started with 5K. I know you've run some really fast times over like middle distance as well. Do you think you're going to stick with the marathon and half marathon, or do you think you will drop back down to some faster things?
I think the marathon is kind of where I see myself being the best runner that I can be, but I'll use like 5Ks and maybe some 3Ks just as training runs in like... I often do like a cycle of training in the summer where I'll focus a bit more on the speed stuff on the track, and also still quite an avid like club runner. So I run for Chelmsford AC. So it's often a case of like they need somebody to score points in certain races. So I'll definitely still do like 3 and 5K races, but the main focus will be on the marathon in the next few years, I think. And
what's your biggest piece of advice you could have given Ben back in Sweden in 2019 to get to where you are now?
That's a good question.
I mean, you obviously didn't need the advice because you've done it anyway, but what would you tell someone else at the start of their running journey?
As cliche as it sounds, just to enjoy the process of it and not try and rush it. I think a lot of new runners get into the sport and suddenly they want to do, I don't know, a 50-kilometer race or something like that after just only getting into running. Whereas if I look back at when I started, I was only running a couple of times a week, and then I built it up really, really gradually over the last few years. And I think that's probably why I haven't had too many big injuries. Unfortunately, I had one last year, but I think like gradually building up your training is really important. and not getting carried away, because obviously everyone gets the classic like shin splints injuries and stuff like that. Whereas if you just focus on the enjoyment side of things of running and just gradually build it up, then I think that's where my success came from anyway.
I fully agree, and I think the key to being great like you are is many years of consistent training, and you're not going to put that in if you're not loving it. So I think making it fun is key.
Definitely.
Amazing. We're going to segue over to Steph with our coaching tip of the week.
My top tip today is around organisation to make sure you get those running sessions done. If you have a demanding job or busy life, your running sessions can often be put to the side. What I'd suggest is at the start of each week, you plan out your running sessions and you program them into your calendar like you do with every other social event or life event that you have. We can actually do this for you in the Runna app, as well as you can shuffle your sessions around at any time to make sure they're on the days that suit you.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with our discussion for the day, sent in from one of our lovely listeners. I can't stomach energy gels and they make me feel pretty nauseous. Are there any energy sources alternatives that you'd recommend me fueling with, or any recommendations?
So you want to go first?
I think it's a little bit difficult because I'm quite fortunate that I seem to be able to stomach most energy gels, but the ones that I've found work best for me are the Morton ones. I think they use like a slightly different technology than other gels use. So they you can take them into your stomach and then they kind of like, I don't know the science behind it, but they kind of like absorbed a bit better by the gut. So I found them to be the best for me. But in terms of alternative sources, I'd probably just try and focus a bit more on like the carb loading side of things and just making sure that you've taken care of like the night before, the morning of the race, to really make sure you've got enough carbohydrate in to see you through the race if you can't take on fuel during the actual race itself.
Yeah, I mean, I also think about it coming from a Ironman background where you typically are out for 8, 9, 10, 11 hours or whatever it's going to be, of which typically you don't want to be having gels for that many hours because the volume of gels you're going to have is crazy, and the likelihood that that sits well in your stomach is much less likely. So with that in mind, I always started out by having a lot more kind of energy bars, having like sweets, and then also something else that a lot of people do in those types of events will be having kind of carb drinks where you're putting carbs in your bottle. So I think for people who really can't find a gel brand that agrees with them, if they've tried out Morton, they've tried out SIS, they've experimented with different flavors and they really can't find any that works, then I would suggest kind of find sweets that you can consume easily without getting super out of breath having to chew them, or potentially having something even more solid like energy bars, and then another option, like I said, kind of energy drinks or energy drink mix you can kind of dissolve with water, carry around, whether that's in kind of a running pack or something that you can collect within a run, can be another good option. Anything that you find works for you, Anya?
Well, I just think it also is training your stomach. I'm sure we've all been taking gels for ages, but I now have a pretty lead stomach, but you've got to train your gut like any other muscle. I think before I used to, eat breakfast, have to wait at least 2 hours before I ran. I now can just eat breakfast and head straight out the door. So
I remember reading or hearing about an Ironman, and with his training to get used to taking on gels and fuel on the go, he thought the best way to practice was to take on completely suboptimal fuel. If you can get used to that, kind of like wearing your pants in training, then you'll be really comfortable when it comes to race day. So he would always mid-run immediately before setting off on his run would be a bagel with peanut butter and jam, like immediately before the run. And therefore, like in theory, he's going to find it that much easier to take on some gels on the go. Not saying that's optimal, but it definitely does go in line with kind of sucking it up to some extent and practicing. Experiment, but also something to build into your routines and get more familiar with over time.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Ben, we've got some slightly sillier this or that's to share with you. So I guess maybe almost similarly to the pre-race, or not the pre-race, the mid-run fueling. If you had to fuel your next race with either of these two things, which would it be? Would you rather have a pre-race ice cream or pre-race donuts? Which do you think would be your go-to?
It'd have to be ice cream, because I've actually used that as a fueling source before a 5K, and I actually got a PB. So it's like almost a superstition now that ice cream is going to lead to a good race.
Was that a an afternoon, evening 5K?
Yes.
I was going to say, to think that you're getting up for your 9 o'clock park run, smashing some ice cream is an
it's not a
interesting
normal
one.
thing, but there was a 5K race in Bristol at the time, and we were up just for the day, and I remember having an ice cream and then realising, I actually got a 5K race about 2 hours from now, and then the race went really well, so now ice cream works for fueling.
Have you tried ice cream for breakfast yet?
I haven't done, but maybe I'll try it before the London Marathon.
Wow. Okay, next up. You're heading out for a lovely dinner at a Michelin star restaurant. Would you rather turn up in the carbon-plated flip-flops we spoke about, or those barefoot running shoes that go around each toe?
Oh, 100% the carbon flip-flops. I can't stand those running shoes that go around each toe. Even the socks are too far for me, so I'd rather turn up in the flip-flops, I think.
I almost think that'd be quite a statement, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then I could run home pretty quickly as well afterwards, so yeah.
What about you, Anya?
Oh, no, I actually don't want to get my toes out. I don't think I want to get my toes out. Oh, no, but I don't want
I think with the
flip-flops.
flip-flops you have to wear socks, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
flip-flops then.
all of the images that I've seen of these flip-flops of people that are wearing these socks where the
They go around the
fabric
toes.
goes around the toe. So I think it's something to do with like the sweat of your feet. You need to wear the socks so that they don't slip off or something like that. I don't
Can you
know.
imagine that you're like on for your flip-flop marathon PB and then you just lose your flip-flop? It flies
Yeah.
off the back of your foot.
Yeah, I mean, it must be pretty common, I guess, with a flip-flop.
Do you want to go for the last
Yeah,
one? Anya?
last one. Okay, back to your chef days. Would you rather, in your restaurant, serve a main course of your pre-race breakfast that you normally have, or a dessert made of energy gels?
Ooh.
What is your pre-race breakfast at the moment?
It's usually pretty simple, like overnight oats with maybe a bit of honey or golden syrup, a few chia seeds, a bit of banana maybe. So yeah, I probably would go with that, serve that as a main course, because eating energy gels as a dessert would be
I feel
horrible
like
way
a
to end
chef
a meal.
could concoct something really nice with energy gels.
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think I could. I've recently been converted to overnight oats, but I don't know if I could stomach overnight oats as like my main at dinner.
Yeah, that would be pretty
But
disappointing.
I
wouldn't
think
it?
I could have a really nice main and then just like have a bit of a sugary artificial gel for pudding.
Yeah.
It could be like a jelly.
Yeah, I guess so. You could like reduce a gel down a little bit and make a compote or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
There you go.
I'm sure there's a
Sorted.
way
Actually,
of-
if you
of
reduced
doing
it down, it would actually then become more energizing.
Exactly, yeah. Even more calorific.
You'd be flying out the restaurant.
Yeah.
In your carbon-plated flip-flops.
Absolutely. Wow, this could be. So wait, what's the answer then?
I think I'd give a dessert a go. Why not? I'll try and rustle something up.
Sounds lovely. Ben, our final question we like to ask everyone is to design your dream race. So, with that in mind, what would be the distance of your dream race? Where in the world would it be? What's the food and drink at the finish line? And who gives out the award or puts the medal around your neck?
Oh, so I think it would definitely be in Sweden. There's a place called Djurgården that's one of my favourite places to run in the world. It kind of follows like a canal, and it's all sort of off-road, but it's a canal path, so it's quite, you can still run fast on it basically. And that's a perfect like 10-kilometre loop. So it'd probably be like a 10k race in Stockholm, just because of the nostalgia of it. Giving out the race medals would definitely be maybe a pro runner like a Jakob Ingebrigtsen, somebody that I look up to. It'd be pretty cool to see them at the finish line, especially if it goes well.
And then food and drink.
Food and drink. Oh, it would have to be like a Christmas dinner, like have the whole family there, a full spread, all the food on the table. You can just eat as much as you want. And just fully indulge in all of.
Do you have an appetite on the finish line?
Yes, I'm not one of those runners that finish and is like, I can't eat anything for hours. I'm just like, just get some food in straight away.
And is this 10k mass participation? Is it kind of like more elite focused? How are you framing that?
I wouldn't mind an elite focus race and then have a big mass participation afterwards. I think that would be pretty cool.
Nice. And which of the waves are you going in?
I'd stick in my sub-elite category. I'm
So you're going to win
the
the mass participation, and then you can eat your
good.
Christmas dinner watching the elite score off afterwards.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds like a great way of
Great.
running my ideal race.
Wow, well that would be fascinating. It makes me want to just book some flights to Sweden and go and find out this
let's
canal
make it
paths.
Have you seen, this is such a random side thought, the race that goes across the bridge from Copenhagen to like Malmo in Sweden,
Yes,
like
I
that
have
half
seen
marathon.
that, yeah.
They're doing it again this year.
Wow.
I
Must
want to do
be
it.
quite a lot of elevation in that race, I think.
Yeah.
If it is a bridge, like
They don't do it
up and
every
down.
year.
Yeah, I think it's a very. I've been over that bridge on the way to do an Ironman in Sweden, and I think because it's such a long bridge, it's not like one of the New York ones where it goes up and then back
Yeah.
down. I think it's a lot longer, and I think it's the biggest running race in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where they get 90,000 runners or something like
Because
that.
they don't do it every year. Anyway, sorry.
Well, Ben,
That sounds pretty good.
No, well, yeah, we'll have to head out to do that one, and then we'll run to Sweden, and then we can go find your
Exactly.
your canal paths. But no, Ben, it's incredible to be able to watch your journey on YouTube and hear all about it. It's honestly so inspiring to see where you've taken your running, and we can't wait to see where you take it next. And thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank
you very much. It's been great.
Today's podcast is powered by Runna. Runna is the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide, and whatever your running goal, whether you're looking to do your first 5K, improve your time over the 10K, or even run a marathon or an ultramarathon, we'll build you the personalized training for you to help you get there and enjoy the process along the way. If you want to download the Runna app, you'll get 2 weeks for free with code podcast25. And if you're already a Runna customer, you can head to the premium offers section where we've got a 15% off discount for you off any of our Runna merchandise.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, subscribe. And if you loved it, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. See you then.